Hi guys, and welcome back to Fi Friday Feedback with the Fi Guys. I'm Dom, he's Chris, and today we are talking about make time, how to focus on what matters every day. If you did miss Monday's pod, I highly recommend going back and checking it. I've got all my notes here on the pod. It was very good, very informational, and I have been implementing them accordingly. Hopefully, you've been doing that as well. Today we'll be talking about a bunch more steps from that book. And to start it off, Chris, howdy.
Howdy. Glad to be here with you.
Too.
So on Monday's podcast, we really talked about the framework of the book and making sure that we're focusing on highlighting the most important things. It's really a 4-point framework, because so many people, they hope that, in order for me to do more stuff, I just need to be more productive. I need to make more time. I need to do all these things. You can't make more time. You only have so much time in the day. But what you can do is get rid of the stuff that isn't important to you and focus on what really matters. And too many people, they go through life hoping that, as I move through life, if X is a factor in how much stuff I have to do, then all I need to do is be more productive in order to finish X. But X is not a factor, it's a variable. And X constantly moves. So if we're trying to be better at getting rid of X, but X is a variable, you can never actually account for how much time you have to put into it, because X is constantly changing. And unfortunately, the more productive you are, the more stuff gets added to your plate. So only by being able to say no to certain things and focus on what's actually important can we do that. So on Monday's pod, we talked about the framework, the 4-point framework for the book, which is highlight, laser, energize, and reflect. And today we're going to be talking about some specific tactics, and we'll, of course, cover it all again.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, let's get right into it. I got my notes out. I'm ready to attack this podcast as well. Let's do it.
Nice. All right, well, let's get into it. So I know today what I want to do is talk a little bit about some tactics that we might be able to use with you and things that are going on with your life. The reason I read this book, Dominic, wasn't just for myself. It was also for you, because I know that, we work together here on the podcast, and you're the guy that does a lot of the video editing, and I'm very much dependent on you to get that done so that I can do my side of our agreement here. So the reason I wanted to read this is so that we could both be more productive in making sure that we are designing our time around getting what is most important done for both of us, because we both just don't have the podcast. We both run our own separate businesses. So we're both very, very busy, but we need to make sure that we're staying busy on the things that are most important to us, rather than just getting caught up in the busy bandwagon and infinity pools, which most people do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully today I'll be the case study a little bit as we go through the different tactics from the book. I'm not going to say hacks. They're not really hacks. We don't really like the word hacks here, but tactics. I like the word tactics, so we'll go with that one. On how we can use this book to make me more efficient, basically.
Yeah, and remember that there's 87 tactics that the book gives us. And just like a cookbook, we're not going to use all 87. We're going to go ahead, we're going to try on a recipe, see if that recipe is good to our taste buds. If it is, great, we can try it again. If it isn't, move on to the next tactic. We're going to go over a bunch of different tactics, Dominic, today, and I'll just throw them out there real quick. I'll explain them if you need me to, and you can tell me if that works for you or not. So again, let's talk about the framework. It's highlight. So first, we're going to have to choose a single activity to prioritize and protect on our calendar. That this is the most important thing. After we have our highlight of the day, we're going to go laser focus and make sure that we're doing specific tactics to stay focused on that highlight when we're actually doing it, or whatever tasks we're on. Obviously, in order to do either one, the highlight or the laser, we need to make sure that we have energy. So how can we charge our batteries with exercise, food, sleep, quiet, maybe face-to-face interactions with individuals to really energize, to bring our best selves to our tasks? And then most importantly, once we do all those, we need to reflect at the end of the day and adjust to improve our systems, because you need to be like a scientist. I can't tell you what tactics are going to work for you. All people are different people. So focus on that. And the best way to find your highlight is to focus on what is most urgent to you, what is going to bring you the most satisfaction after completing, and what brings you the most joy in life. And the most important thing is that highlight moving you towards the life that you want? Because your highlight might be, highlight today is I just want to watch TV and veg out for the day. And that might be a great highlight, but is that moving you towards the life that you want? Is that really focused work as well? Is that really a time that you need to dedicate to focused work, just watching TV? I would argue no. But most people, they'll put all of their life into the busy bandwagon and infinity pools where they're just mindlessly scrolling, saying, this is the best time of my life. And after we're done, I've never got off of hours of scrolling and being like, that was a productive use of my time.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, you've never done hours of scrolling, have you?
No, but I've definitely dedicated more time than is enough. I have to put some of the things on myself too, because I'm human.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even though you
And
might think that I have unlimited discipline and like self control, I
yeah,
don't. I could fall prey to Facebook, TikTok. I don't even have TikTok because I'm afraid of it, honestly. But Facebook, YouTube Shorts,
yeah.
Snapchat, all those things. I have hacks on my phones to not. I don't even have most of those apps on my phones because of that.
More power to you. Yeah, more power. Yeah, yeah. It's tough. It's tough, especially like last podcast we talked a lot about how this book is written by two people who worked in tech companies on
Mm-hmm.
how to get you to stay on their app, get you to continue to scroll and continue to engage in posts. I find it so interesting, the entire idea of commenting on videos. I'm like, who are you talking to? I don't understand it. But like you said last podcast, what they'll do is they'll do boring post, boring post, boring post, exciting post. And it's kind of like gambling. It keeps you intrigued, right? And these are the same people that helped design that system. And they made a book about how to get around that system and be more productive. And now they go all around the country talking about productivity and how you can be more productive and live a more fulfilled life in a sense. Am I
Yeah.
off on that last part? I don't know about
No,
the fulfilled life.
I think the fulfilled life is probably the most important thing. That's what I think that's the reason that this is my favorite productivity book, is because they're not talking about how to just squeeze more juice out of the lemon, how to get more out of the day. It's how to focus on what really matters. And what focusing on really matters isn't getting more stuff done. It's doing the most important thing. And that most important thing is going to lead you to having the life that you want.
Yeah. And
By
that's what I love
focusing
so
on that.
much about the highlight part of the book in the framework is you choose 60 to 90 minutes, a task that moves the ball, moves the needle closer to who you want to be as a person, right? If I want to be Mr. I want to, that's a bad example. I want to be a fit person, right? If I want to be healthy, right? I want to be fit. I want to be jacked, real big and muscly. My highlight of the day could very well be I'm going to spend 60 to 90 minutes becoming healthy, right? It could be going to the gym. It could be meal prepping. It could be a bunch of different things because that moves the needle in that direction and it helps me become the person I want to be. Am
Yep.
I off base in any of that? I don't think
No,
I
you're
am.
exactly right. And I think a lot of it just comes down to trusting your gut on what the highlight's going to be. And it's never too late in the day to choose or even change your highlight.
Yeah.
You can always do it. And remember that tomorrow is a new day. So today, your highlight could be like, oh man, I know I'm going on this vacation in a few months, and I would really like to just look and see what's going to be the most exciting things for that vacation. Now, that's going to be the highlight of my day. That's the most important thing that I want to bring dedicated time to. Is that going to move the needle on all of my work life and everything else that I need to get done? No. But once I get that done, I know that after I look up 60, 90 minutes of things that I want to do, now I have until I go on that vacation so much joy and excitement of things that I got to actually look at today and say, like, this is what I'm going to set up for myself in the future.
Yeah.
And that could have also changed. It could have moved, but like that's a highlight that I have for tomorrow is go ahead and plan for that.
You know, while you were speaking on this, I was reminded of something I used to do out. This was during the COVID era. And I would have this piece of paper. I would carry it with me everywhere, right? It was my go-to. It had my daily goals on it, and my weekly goals, it had my monthly goals, it had my quarterly and yearly goals on it. I used to carry this paper with me everywhere. It tracked my weight. It said what I was doing wrong this week and what I can improve on this week,
It
front
must
and
have been a
back.
big piece of paper.
Yeah, I would print it out every day and I would fill
Wow.
it out every day. I'd wake up, weigh myself. This is how much muscle I have, how fat I am, this is my body age, the works, like just a psychopath, right? And I have a folder somewhere, I think at my mom's house, a folder full of these papers. And people used to always be like, that is so interesting. And I do a version of it on my computer, but it's not the same. It's not the same because before I'd carry this paper with me, I'd open it up and be like, and what was interesting about it is I knew where I would fail. Like you know exactly where your shortcomings are. And there'd be a section in there that'd be like, okay, Dom, when you're feeling lazy, get up, walk around, do a couple squats, get back to work, right? When you're feeling undisciplined, when you're feeling unmotivated, remember, why did you start? You know, and I would have this with me every day. And then I digitized it, right? And I know we love our technology. I love our technology. We use Notion for the podcast and a lot of our notes and whatnot. I have massive Notion databases on a whole world of techniques, a whole world of, my entire life is in this Notion program. And I don't mean to get too off topic, but I think for me and for a lot of us, we need to go back to writing things down, right? For this podcast, I have this tiny little sticky note. I got like 2 or 3 or 4 sticky notes right here. And it's really helped me. I just want to share that real quick. It's really helped me writing things down and distancing myself from technology. While technology is helpful, Googling stuff, ChatGPT, finding recipes, all that fun stuff, it's a tool, and oftentimes we are too tempted to use the tool for beneficial things. And a lot of this book talks about, getting rid of the social media, getting rid of the emails on your phone. I mean, Chris, you yourself, you don't have any social media on your phone. I'm not even sure if you have email on your phone. I think you log in through the web, like through your Chrome browser.
I do have it on my phone, both my emails for all my emails, but I don't log in. So if I have to look at it, I have to log into it.
Exactly. And this device, if you went back in time, 200 years, 300 years, start of the country, and you said, "Hey Siri, XYZ, what's the weather today?" Just activate Siri. They would burn you at the stake because you're a witch. You know the temperature. It's craziness. And like you talked about last podcast, we're cavemen. We've got this 10,000-year-old brain that's not prepared for any of this, and I think we just need to get back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm gonna go out and buy a printer right now. I'm gonna go buy a printer. I'm restarting the whole damn process. I'm writing down the weekly goals, all that crap. I'm running it back. So I hope that's not my win of the week, but damn it, that could very well be the win of the week for me. But I get off topic. I digest a little bit on that topic. But yeah, I highly recommend while you guys are listening to this podcast, don't just listen and do other tasks. We're not great multitaskers, some of us, me included. I'm a terrible multitasker. Take some notes. Please, please, please take notes on what you're listening to in the podcast today and every podcast. Because like we talked about last pod, if you're just listening and not taking action, then this is all for entertainment. And you're not getting closer to your goals and we're not getting closer to our goals, because our goal is to have nuanced conversation about detailed parts of finance and financial independence and just being a better human. And if you're not taking action on this, then it's all for basically nothing. So I hope you guys are taking great notes. With that being said, I'm going to pass the microphone back over to Chris. I'm just going to shut mine off and walk away for the next 20 minutes because I'm hogging spotlight now. But yes, Chris, let's continue. Please. I've hogged enough time.
No, it's all good. Again, this is going to be about you and making sure that we're sticking to giving you the best tactics for you. So you actually hit on the number one tactic for finding your highlight, and that's writing it down. So write down the highlight that you believe is going to be your highlight the evening before, so the night before. And if you don't do it that night before, do it in the morning. What do I think is going to be the highlight of my day? And again, you can always change that highlight. It's never too late to choose or to change. And then you can always record it in apps, or you can do it like Dominic said, write it down on a notebook, write it down on a sticky note. Doing it in an app is great, I think, because it's in an app. But unfortunately, whenever we go into an app, whenever we go into our phone, there's also a bunch of distractions that can get us onto the busy bandwagon, into an infinity pool, that if you write it on a sticky note, you're never going to write on a sticky note and then get distracted by the glory of the sticky note. You're just going to write it down, stick it on your phone, put it on the back of your case, do whatever you need. But you're never going to write on your sticky note, like, this is my highlight for the day, and just be like, oh my God, and then get sucked down into a wormhole like you can with your phone. So that is a really good one. So that's number one, actually, is write down the highlight of the day.
I want to say that that was planned, but that was not planned at all. That was right off the cuff. So I'm grateful for that. That sometimes things do actually fall in our favor. So that's good. That's awesome.
Another tactic that I would like you to think about is there's another one called Groundhog It. So like Groundhog Day is that if something worked really good yesterday, you can always do it again. If the highlight yesterday was the highlight that kicked ass, you can always do it again tomorrow and have that be the highlight again and frame the day around it. Another big one that I like to do is batch the little stuff. So we always have our highlight, right? but our highlight is also usually gets kind of eclipsed by all the little stuff. So if you batch those little things all in one tactic, if I'm going to get all this done in an hour or 30 minutes, I'm not bringing my best work to it, but I'm just going to get it done rather than doing what most people do, where they do one task, they switch to another task, do something, switch back to another task. If you just batch the little things and focus, like, I'm just going to do emails. I'm going to focus for 30 minutes on just responding to emails and getting that all done with. Super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that idea. Yeah, because something works one day, repeat that stuff. Repeat that. It's like, not every day. I don't wake up every day and be like, damn, dude, YouTube, how do I make an egg? How do I boil an egg? How do I scramble these eggs? Like, no, it worked for me Monday, works for me Tuesday. I'm gonna keep doing it. I love eggs. I ran out of eggs recently. I want you to know that. I'm going into a spiral now. I gotta go to the store. Anyway. Okay. What else do we got? I do love the groundhog one.
One thing I would like maybe a thought to do is maybe you can schedule your highlight. If you know that this is the most important thing, what can I do to put that this is when I'm going to do it? Or you can say like this 60, 90 minutes, I'm going to do it here. Maybe you get to that point, you say like, I'm not really feeling it. You could move it around still, but try to set it up at the beginning of the day saying like, I know typically that I bring my best energy around 1:30, 1 o'clock after I finish jujitsu, because that's when I bring my best energy. So we schedule the podcast around that time.
Yeah.
So can you schedule things? Can you schedule your highlight on the calendar? Because if you tell me that something's important to you and you don't have a dedicated time to do it, then it's not really that important to you. So for people that are like, oh yeah, working out's really important to me. Okay, cool. When do you normally go during the day? I guess I go whenever I kind of feel like it.
Yeah.
Then
it's like, when is breathing important to you? It's like, well, I breathe when I need to breathe. Okay. That makes sense. When do you work out? Like you said, it's like, when do you work out? I go when I need to go. Are you, oh man, there's a quote that's perfect for this. I'm trying to rack my brain for it. It's like, are you committed to your goals? Are you just like, what, do you know the quote I'm talking about, Chris? Are you committed to your goals, or are you
dating them?
I'll figure it out. We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one. I'll run it back. I will run it back on that one, but please continue.
Another one that I really like for a tactic that might be important for you, Dominic, because I know that what we're talking about today is you getting better at like doing the video editing and just like sticking up with that, is their tactic. They call it flake it till you make it. But ask yourself, if I keep on pushing this off and not doing it, is there a reason for that? Do I just not want to do this at all? And if that's the case, that's okay. But you need to actually be truthful with yourself. And like I always tell people, the truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. And sometimes people might find that like, oh no, the reason I'm not doing this is because I actually don't want to do it. But my whole identity is wrapped around being able to do something that I don't want to do. But that's not setting yourself up for a good life. It's not going to be your highlight because it's not moving you towards the life that you want. You know, I'm going to get a little woo-woo, but your body has internal wisdom. And like, if it doesn't feel right in your gut, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't feel right in your gut, a lot of people will try to avoid it over and over and over again, rather than asking the question, maybe I just shouldn't be doing this.
Absolutely.
Like, how many people do we know? I know a bunch of people who work in finance, who work in attorneys. I know a lot of doctors. And unfortunately, when I do talk to them about like mental health stuff, a lot of them tell me like, oh yeah, I'm on Prozac. I'm on this stuff to like deal with my life. And being a financial expert, I get to talk to them and be like, if you have to be on these drugs to live your life, rather than trying to take the drugs to make your life better, maybe we should ask the question, are you living the right life? And again, the truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. Maybe you might realize that you're living the wrong life, and that's why you have to be on all these drugs, and that's why you always feel awful. And yeah, maybe it's going to really suck to have to upend your life and change everything, decision you made, but would you rather continue to live in hell, hoping that eventually it's going to get better? Or would you rather decide to make a change today to start living for a better life?
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, but just know that there are a lot of people out there that go through their whole life miserable, hoping that eventually they'll finally find happiness.
Mm-hmm. Could you speak on this for just a quick minute, Chris, about
Go for it.
You've lived two different lives. You lived in the corporate America, 9 to 5, the office type, crappy bosses, miserable era, right? And you've lived in your current era, the peaceful era. I think a lot of people are afraid to make a transition from where you were, the miserable era, to try and become more peaceful, to try and become more happy, Could you talk a little bit about that transition and like what it took and like how good it feels, right? To be on the other side of it now, right? In comparison to what it was and what it is now.
Yeah. The first thing I'll talk about when it comes to that is that people can stay in the muck, in sadness for a really long time. You can go through your whole life being miserable and being just fine, because evolutionarily, we are all here to have babies that have babies. And you could be depressed and still do that. So a lot of people can go through life with something that isn't working for them and just keep that going. Typically, the thing that creates the catalyst for change is that it becomes too painful that they know that they can't sustain it, or until unforeseen circumstances force them to change. But in order to create that change, it's really, really difficult. And just to answer your question, when it comes down to, I remember what it's like to wake up every day and kind of be miserable. But even then, there were still moments of peace, moments of happiness that I would focus on that would get me through my days. And even today, now that I get to control my time and be pretty darn happy, it doesn't mean that my life is all rainbows and unicorns. I still deal with every single thing that everyone has to deal with. It never goes away. So rather than focusing on like, eventually when I get to this point, I'll be happy. Unfortunately, you probably won't believe me until you experience it for yourself. That happiness is never going to come. And there's an old Jim Carrey quote where Jim Carrey said, "I wish everyone could become a millionaire so they could find out that it doesn't bring them happiness." And then, of course, everyone says the same thing. Well, Jim Carrey could say that because he's a millionaire. But
yeah,
he doesn't mean that he's wrong.
Yeah. Two things can be right at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question there? Did I answer?
Yeah, no, that was
both parts?
I like that. That was solid. I think there's a lot to be unpacked from that. I like that.
Another thing that I really enjoy doing for that you might want to think about too when it comes to finding your highlight is the power of just saying no. So there's so much time of people asking us for more time, doing things like that. As a financial advisor, I'm constantly reached out to by different people who are trying to sell investments to people who want me to push their products and do stuff like that. And I often just say no, because you can send me an email. I can learn about it in 15 minutes, or I can dedicate an hour meeting, which also means 15 minutes of drive time and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, does it really move my life? So rather than giving a bunch of reasons or like, no, but this, just say no. Thanks, but no. And it's uncomfortable to do, but once you learn to have that power of no, it helps so much. And if you're able to schedule your day, you're really able to say like, don't say shit like, "I'm really sorry, I'm just so busy, but maybe if something comes available, I can find time." Just say, "I'm busy." No. Just shut the door. It's so much better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things I definitely struggle with. I definitely struggle with that.
And that's why I brought it up.
Damn it, Chris. You said it was going to be easy. No, I was kidding. No, like you said, it's going to hurt at first, but it's going to be better to feel a quick pain at first and reap the rewards down the line than just a long, small pain the entire life. Yeah, no. So let's role play just real quick. Real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Chris. Let's hang out. Let's go grab lunch or something. Right?
Do I want to do this or do I not?
You don't want to do. Yeah, no, you don't want to do this. I'm not someone you want to have lunch with. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay, cool. Because remember that if it's important to you and you do want to do it, then do it. You don't have to say no just because I'm telling you to say no. Say no if it doesn't move you, if it's not serving you and moving you towards your goals. But if like I don't like you, I'm like my schedule is too full, can't meet with you.
Dude, that is huge. Somebody clip that. I gotta put that. That's going in the notes. I like that.
And that's one of the nice things when you block off your schedule is you can legitimately say like, "Oh, my schedule's blocked. I'm sorry, but I can't make it." And you can always add, "I'm sorry," but you can say, "I'm sorry," and no. You can be polite and no. Mm-hmm. And I really like that word "and." It's I am sorry, and it's a no. So both those two things are true.
Yeah, it softens the blow a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good transition word. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, like I'm really busy doing some really big projects, and I don't have time. And no. Done.
Okay.
It ends so many discussions for me.
Mm-hmm.
The power of no.
Yeah. Dude, there's so much psychology in this podcast. It's such an undertone of our entire show. Like not Monday's pod, but last week's pod. I mean, we talked about it's like, you should subscribe because you're a good person and you're trying to get on a greater financial path, right? And we're like, well, yeah, I associate with being a good person. So yeah, I should do that. Everybody
Yep.
is subscribing, so that's why you should subscribe too. It's like, well, yeah, I follow the crowd. I don't want to be ousted, So it's like so much psychology in that. And I love I'm sorry, my schedule is very full. And no, can't. I love that.
Yeah, because people want it because.
Mm-hmm.
No, because of this.
Yeah, it gives them closure.
Mm-hmm. It tells them the reason. If you just say no, you might seem like a dick. And I'm fine being a dick. But if you tell them, like, I'm just too busy and no, it's over.
Okay. Do you find it better? I know we're getting off topic a little bit. Leading with the no or ending with the no?
Oh, both. I don't really think there's...
Either or, it doesn't matter. Okay. No, I'm sorry. My schedule is full. I'm sorry. My schedule is full. It's a no.
What I probably do if I'm thinking about it for real is I go no because this and no.
Double no.
Just to end the statement on no, because I really want it to be like, I want it to be definitive. I don't want to give a because I don't want someone to say, oh, but we can do this instead. So I end it with another no. But often I do the because just because people want a reason if they're going to get denied something.
Dude, you're such an Obi-Wan. You're so knowledgeable. I love it. All right.
So let's move on to laser tactics, and I'll give you some things here in order to make sure that when we do find our highlight, that we're really going to focus down, get rid of all the distraction, all the BS that is trying to take you away from focusing on the thing that matters most to you, and actually do it. And the first thing I would say to that is delete apps that are infinity pools off of your phone. And if that's too scary for you, if you're like, I can't delete Facebook, like what if the sky falls?
What if grandma
What you could
died?
always do is take it off of the home screen. Take it off the home screen and log yourself out of it. So when you're ready, you have to search it or go in through everything and then log yourself in. You have two now things that are getting in front of you. There are thousands of research and developers that go into every single thing to make things as simple as possible. Try to take out as much friction as you possibly can. Think about Amazon. That's why they have the one buy. They're trying to make it as simple as possible for you to click this button and get it done. The more friction you add into your life, the less you're going to do things. So log out. If you need to add two-factor authentication, take it off your phone entirely. You can always add on, with Apple, and with Android, I'm sure with Apple, you can even add timers onto apps saying I can only use this for this many minutes a day. And then it's going to tell me that you've used your time up. Do you want more time?
Work. Those never work. They've never.
Nope.
They never work. They never work. People, because it'll pop up, and I've seen 100 people do this. It'll pop up and be like, "Hey, your time is up for this. Would you like to snooze it for 15 minutes?" Snooze, snooze, snooze. And it just never works. I've seen it 100.
It works for me.
It works for you. Well, more power to you. You're the first person I've seen it work. I've never seen it work on anybody else.
And I'll tell you the most important one that I think is important when it comes to this stuff is turn off notifications. All notifications, with the exception of maybe phone calls and text messages, should be turned off. Because again, that's distracting you and it's putting you into other people's things are what are most important for you, and they're not most important for you. And I always leave my device behind. I often don't have my cell phone and stuff like that. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu is that there's an hour out of every day that I'm doing jiu-jitsu that I can't have my headphones in. I can't be listening to things. I can't be on my phone. Like I have to be 100% present.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. That's good.
Yep.
So we've got highlights. We've got laser. What else we got?
How do you feel? How are you in the morning when you wake up? Do you feel like the need to look at your phone first thing every morning and like jump into an infinity pool?
Yeah, a little bit.
Why is that?
I think I built the routine of it. And it's like you wake up, dopamine. Wake up, dopamine, right? Now since I have a job, not so much, right? Got a pretty rigid morning schedule for the days I work. It's like wake up. Let's check to see if we overslept or underslept. I never oversleep. I find that like I'll wake up halfway through the night and be like, what time is it? Am I late? Like, no. You're 3 hours early. Go back to bed. I'm like, oh, okay. But usually when I get a solid amount of sleep, I can usually wake up within like a 10-minute window of when I went to bed. I sleep 8 hours. pretty. I don't sleep more. I usually don't sleep less unless I have to be woken up.
So I know you're working part-time now, so only a few days a week. On the days that you're not working, do you wake up and do the morning check-in on your phone, see what's going on Instagram, all that stuff, see what's going on in your emails?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Does that serve you?
It does no, no. It doesn't serve me in the way that if I want to be stronger, I want to be smarter, I want to be financially independent. Doesn't serve me at all.
So why do you do it?
I think because it's comfortable. I think that's why everybody does it, because it's comfortable, and maybe it distracts me a little bit from my life. Right? I don't think I have a problem being alone, but at the same time, not fun being alone all the time. Thankfully, I have deleted it from my phone, so that's good. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long that can continue. You know,
Yeah,
if I want to use it, I'm gonna.
One of the big tactics is skipping the morning check-in. So when you wake up, don't look at Instagram, don't look at things. Focus on or start the day with the way that you want to start the day. Because once you go on to the news stations or onto Instagram, or God forbid you check your email, now instead of the day you being in control when you start the day, you've automatically started by pivoting backwards, by being on somebody else's timeline, on someone else's most important thing, rather than being able to focus on your most important thing. So for me, I wake up and I work out. And I take my dogs out for their bike ride and I do all that stuff. Does it sometimes feel good to look at my emails and to check it and to see that there's nothing in there? Yeah, that feels good. But there's also the other thing that if I check my emails, there might be something in there that I have to deal with. And now I can't show up my best ability to take my dogs on their bike ride, to work out, to do all that stuff, because I have this other distraction that in reality, that distraction will be there at 8 a.m. And it's not like me thinking about it for 2 hours is going to change anything.
Do you ever find yourself nervous that when you leave your phone behind and you didn't check your email, you didn't check your text messages, that, could be something in there that I need to get to? Or it's like,
of course.
No, you do. Okay. Wasn't sure.
Of course, I'm human. Everyone does. But one thing you can do, and here's another tactic. This isn't in the book, I don't think, but this is something I do. I have a auto response on most of my emails that say that I only check my emails so many times a day. So if you need me, you can call me or text me. And again, it's just that little bit of stimulus and response gap. So when someone gets that automatic email, they're like, oh, okay, if it's really important, they can call me and I'll answer. But if not, then they know that I only respond to emails at a certain time. I've also trained like all of my clients and people I work with that I don't respond immediately.
Yeah.
Because I'm on my own time. And if I'm doing focused work and I'm just taking calls every 10 seconds and doing other stuff, responding to emails, then I can't do focused work. So I turn all of it off. And if you're really truthful with yourself, if you're going to do a highlight, it's 60 to 90 minutes. Is there something so important in your email inbox that if you don't respond to it in 60 to 90 minutes, the world's going to end? If you're truthful with yourself, the answer is no.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
You have any other questions on laser or what we can do to get better about that?
More caffeine.
More caffeine.
But don't have the caffeine until you've woken up after 2 hours, like we talked about on Monday. You have a caffeine of choice, like a way to intake it? You don't do caffeine, do you?
Not really. I'll drink tea every so often, but even then it's usually non-caffeinated tea. No, I don't really do caffeine, honestly. I don't do much.
I kind of want to get into it, but I feel like it's a healthy steroid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm already not productive, me taking caffeine isn't going to make me more productive. If I don't work out, start juicing up and taking steroids, I'm not going to get jacked. I haven't built the foundation.
That's true.
But like you said last pod, caffeine is just a tool. Use it for good, use it for bad. Your choice.
Yeah. Another thing that I think might help you for lasering is eliminating all other distractions. Turn off the podcast. Maybe if you want to, I turn music on. So I normally turn on like a
I do too.
Like, but not nothing with words. It's normally just like instrumental music. No TV on the background. I used to have a boss who would, this was when I was in finance, who always had like CNN, CNBC on. It always had he had 2 news stations on in his office all the time.
With audio?
No, they were both normally off, but like anytime you would look up, there would be like breaking news. And he very rarely got things done. And as a
Mm,
financial advisor, we're supposed to be looking long term, but he was always filling his mind with short term stuff. And he was very hesitant to ever see the true path that we needed to go down because he was busy always being buried in other people's things, buried in news that didn't actually impact his business or the way that we wanted to take the company.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. Hmm.
So you can ditch your TV for a project
Yeah.
and focus on the project. Another good thing for laser focusing is creating a deadline. And so this is something I'll do. I'm going to dedicate 60 to 90 minutes to focus on this thing. And once I'm done, I'm leaving it behind. And I'll focus
Really?
on it again tomorrow. So maybe for you, like editing the videos, I'm going to give myself 90 minutes of focused editing time. And after that, it's over. And tomorrow I'll pick it up again. But if you batch it that way, it might be a little bit easier for you than to say like, oh, I'm going to dedicate this. Who knows how much time to video editing and doing this stuff? Because it could take 30 minutes. It could take 90 minutes. It could take 6 hours, depending on how difficult you want to do it. But if you tell yourself, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time, now you know I only have 90 minutes, set a clock, and then try to do your best work for those 90 minutes without distraction. And set a visible timer so you know I only have this much longer doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that isn't bringing you joy, if it's something that you know you have to do out of urgency.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really powerful, that one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard that one.
I do it all the time.
I've heard, obviously, creating a deadline. I've heard that before. I'm not an idiot. But oftentimes, you set a deadline. You're rushing to it. Final 30 minutes. Rush, trying your best. I just need 15. I just need another hour. I give you 30 minutes. It's like, it's okay to put it off to tomorrow.
Yep. And Parkinson's law shows us that we will find the amount of time or the task will encompass the entire time that you give it. So if you give it an undefined amount of time, it's going to be an undefined amount of time. But oftentimes, if I tell myself, hey, I'm only going to be video editing for an hour, then that means that I'm probably going to get that task done in an hour because my brain's going to be working on how can I be more efficient? How can I get this done in an hour? But if you say, I'm going to do it for an undetermined amount of time, it'll take an undetermined amount of time.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, you don't feel good about it because it doesn't actually finish.
Yeah. What was that one? That one's Parkinson's law?
Parkinson's law, I think is the thing that you said. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. You give me 3 hours to bake a cake, I can bake a cake in 3 hours. You give me an hour, I can bake a cake in an hour. Probably gonna be the same cake. Interesting.
Let's move on to step 3, ways to energize your body and your brain so that when you do set up, you're setting yourself up for the best you to focus on your highlight and focus on all the other tasks you have to get done. Number 1 is just keep your body moving. We already talked about that. Brisk 5-minute walk, a little bit every so often. And you can break that up. So you can know, hey, out of this 90 minutes, at 60 minutes, I'm going to do 5 squats, or I'm going to do a little bit of time. I'm not going to go and distract myself, what most people do. I get my 5-minute break and they hop on
TikTok.
YouTube, hop on TikTok, hop whatever. No, everything stays the same. I'll be at my desk. I'll do whatever. I'm not going to get enveloped in anything else. I'm just going to move my body around and be present with myself. I'm going to be alone with myself and be okay with that.
In those 5 minutes, you used to when you used to work at a regular like 9 to 5 and everything, you would take 5 minutes, you'd go walk around, right? Today, you might do body squats or whatever. Say I'm going every hour on the hour, whatever. I like to just, for me, I'll walk in my hallway, I'll walk in my living room, I'll go to my kitchen, I'll do like a little loop,
Mm-hmm.
It's air conditioned. That's kind of why I like it, right? I don't go outside, feel stinky. That and, I will melt, I will burn in the sun. If we're talking like 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes an hour, if it's like it's a Thursday, right? And I'm home for 12 hours, I'm like, dude, we're talking about an hour out in the sun. Like I will melt. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. Don't make excuses, make action, right? Take ownership of your life, right? For me, I'm just going to be walking in my house. I'm going to be doing my body squats, right? But for that, during that time, what are you thinking about? Obviously, you're not on TikTok. You're not checking your emails. This is a time to be mobile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just in your own thoughts? You listening to music or like, what are you doing?
I usually don't listen to music. If I do, again, it's still instrumental. It's where there's like really no words to distract me, but I'm thinking about whatever I'm thinking about. It might just be, oh, wow, it's really hot out today or whatever I'm thinking. But that's often when the best ideas come to you.
Mhm.
And especially people like us who are in knowledge work, where like we create content, that's where the better ideas come from. That's where all these ideas for these podcasts come from, is by not being productive all the time. You have
Yeah.
to give your brain space to work. And for people that aren't in knowledge work, you also need to give your brain space to reflect and see, am I living the life that I want? Because if you're stuck in it day to day, and there's one thing that I always like where so many people will be like, oh my God, the stock market is dropping. This is really going to hurt people who are living paycheck to paycheck. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't give a shit about what the stock market does because you don't have stocks. So it's the exact same thing when it comes down to this exact. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's what it has to do with a lot of people where they're just like, oh, you need to be really busy to always remain busy. Why? Why?
Mhm.
Who are you trying to impress? And is it
Yeah.
serving you?
And is it an ego thing? Like, what are we doing here? Ego is one of the most destructive things of man.
Yep. So, another big thing is to eat real food, eat like a caveman would, exercise every day, but don't be a hero. And when I say don't be a hero, don't go crazy. Don't hurt yourself so that you can't work out tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Exercise enough today to be able to still do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's no amount of work you can put in today that you couldn't put in over a week. It's not going to be superior. That's not how your body works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for energy, 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes an hour, not a day.
Mhm.
Get up from your desk if you're sitting in a desk. Take a walk. Just be with your own thoughts.
Yep. And there's again 70 or 86 different things where it comes back to like wake up before caffeine, take a nap with caffeine, disconnect sugar. There's so many different tactics. We don't need to go into every single one of them. I'm just talking about the ones that I think is going to be most important to you.
Yeah.
Another big one is get woodsy, which is go out and explore nature, be calm, just get away, escape all of this, leave your phone behind and just go out into nature. Be like present with that. Step outside. And I know you don't go outside very often, but go outside, especially now during the summertime, and that's okay. But
yeah,
here in Arizona, you'll die.
Thank you for recognizing that. Finally, I appreciate that. Yeah, you gotta wake up real early to get out there, and before it gets to about 90 or 100, gotta get out there a little early. But that's all right. Just another reason to wake up early, I guess. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the energy. We talked a lot about the laser focus, the highlight. The next one.
The final one I want to talk to you about before we get into that, when it comes to energy, is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day.
Okay.
Even on the weekends.
That's tough for people to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's real tough.
Yeah, I think that one's probably one of the most important ones, though, is just having a normal sleep schedule.
Yeah. I'm going to speak on this real quick. I've been waking up about 5 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? That's my work week. I wake up really early. I go to the gym, shower, get ready there, and then off to work. Right? Thursday came, and I was like, wow, I don't have to go to work today, right? Too big of a to-do list, I'll say, but my to-do list wasn't for the day. It's for my off. So my Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So it's a lot of stuff, right? But Wednesday night, right? So when I'm normally in bed on a work night, I have to be in bed. I have to be like basically in bed by 9. Right? Well, since my week was done, this was like my Friday. I was like, you know what? So I'm already past my bedtime, right? I made my call to my dad, made my call to my mom, right? Checked in on him, making sure everything is good, because usually during those 3 days, I don't talk to him that much. And I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit hungry. I know there's a UFC thing that just went down, so I'm gonna watch some UFC, chill on the couch, and eat my food. Right? Did not go well. I did not go to bed at the right time. I in fact fell asleep on the couch. Very bad. I never fall asleep on the couch. It was really bizarre. I woke up and I was like, what am I doing here? I was like, is this a dream? I had to get up, woke up, went to my bed, right? My routine felt all off. I woke up, I didn't go to the gym. I went to bed, I didn't go to bed on time. And it was all off. And what Chris is talking about here about go to bed at the same time, similar time, at least similar, not to the minute, but at least in the same area, within an hour, I would hope. It really helps build a routine. And it honestly ties a lot into with the highlight for me, because for me, when I'm gonna do my highlight, like you said, it's when I'm at my peak. It's when I'm at my best. And if you don't go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, you really don't know when your best is gonna be. You're gonna be all over the place. Yeah, it's definitely very, very, very important too.
And also, since you brought it up, I wasn't going to talk about these two, but I'll talk about
Please.
them. You typically don't want to eat 2 to 3 hours before bedtime because it's going to wreck, because your metabolism is going to increase before you go to sleep. Additionally, you don't want to watch TV because of the blue light. And then in addition to that, you watch UFC, which is going to increase your adrenaline. You just gave yourself like the perfect concoction of 3 things that are going to wreck your sleep.
Yeah. It didn't prove for a bountiful next day, but I'm turning it around.
And then after that, what do? You reflect. You do step number 4, the most important thing. You observed what happened. You make a guess as to why that thing happened and what we might be able to do different. And we experiment the next day, and then we measure again, which is the most important thing about this. You need to be a scientist of your own life. You need to employ the scientific method with this 4-step framework in order to figure out what's going to work best for you. Because again, there's 87 different tactics here, and there's so many more than just 87. But 87 in the book that you could look at. Don't use all of them. Use some of them in order to figure out what's going to be best for you, and then keep on trying, keep on reiterating. You're going to find ones that are going to work for you that we didn't talk about. You're going to find ones that have never worked for anybody, but work for you. Everyone is a different person.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah, I think the reflect is, I don't want to say, I think it's the most important one of them all so far.
I would say it's become between highlight and reflecting. I think highlighting is probably the most important thing because most people just go through life habitually reacting to everything rather than actually making conscious choices. And highlighting is where you're actually saying, like, I have power. I have dominion over my life. I'm going to make a conscious choice to focus on this thing most.
Absolutely. And reflect is basically tying it back to finance. It's the compounding interest of life. You reflect, you make a change, test it out tomorrow. Did it work? Did it not work? It worked? Cool. Change something else that's broken. Did it work? Didn't work. Change it again. Constantly in reflection on how we can become better, more efficient, and live more fulfilling and loving lives. That's what we all really want at the end of the day, right? So, yeah, I think reflect is definitely one of my favorite ones on this list.
Yeah. And reflect doesn't have any tactics. The 87 tactics are only for the first 3: energize,
highlight.
Oh man. Yeah. Energize, laser. Highlight, and laser.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just reflect. And you reflect either by writing it down. You can meditate on it. You could talk to yourself about it. I usually meditate on it and just think on it and then just kind of move on. But I know some people aren't about that. So you can always write it down. I always like, if you are going to write things down in a journal, I always like to do it in my own handwriting. So you can actually see that you did physically write this down. And it wasn't ChatGPT that created it. And also it won't, because I always do it in the evening. So I'd rather write it down in the evening if I'm going to write it down and not have to look at my screen and have the ability to get stuck in an infinity pool or see something that might distract me from sleeping. That's why I try not to look at the news or anything that's going to spike my cortisol, spike my adrenaline, anything like that at nighttime, because nighttime is for sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you say we get on to our like?
Absolutely. Let's do it. I hope you guys enjoyed that part of the podcast. I know I really did. If you guys do want to check out that book, it's called Make Time: How to Focus on What Matters Every Day by Jake Knapp and John. And forgive me if you want to say his last name. I'm going to butcher it. I know I'm going to butcher it. Zaratsky. Never would have got it. Not in 10 tries. Nope. But yeah, definitely recommend that book if you want to hear more about that. And yeah, check it out on Audible or wherever books are sold.
Or your local library for free.
Or your local library. Free is good too. I like that as well. So with that being said, it's 5 Friday time. Viewer mailbag. This is where we get emails. It's mostly emails. We don't get letters. Don't mail us things. If you have our address, lose it. Okay? It's kind of weird. Anyway. For today's letterhead, it says, I have $33,000 in savings. Should I pay off my entire car loan today? Interesting one. We got an interesting one today. Alrighty. Howdy, Fi guys. I am a 25-year-old professional making $67,000 annually. Congratulations. I've managed to save up $33,000, which I am quite proud of. That's really awesome. Which has reduced my, which I'm very proud of. I decided to undergo a rhinoplasticity surgery that cost me $12,000.
Is that a nose job?
That is yeah, I think it's a nose job.
Rhinoplasty is nose job. Okay.
I thought isn't that the one where like they like open your canals up, or is that something else?
No, rhinoplasty is just a nose job.
It's just a straight nose job. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Okay, so I decided to get a rhinoplasticity surgery that cost me $12,000, which reduced my savings quite a bit. I don't regret it. It was something I wanted to do for a long time, but it has made me conscious of my financial decisions. So let's go over the numbers. Here's a snapshot of my current financial situation. As I said prior, income, $67,000. Okay? Savings, $33,000 in a high yield savings account. Pretty awesome. We like that. Expenses. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be all the expenses I would assume, but this is what he sent in. Car loan, $350 a month. That's pretty good, considering the average is like $700. $16,900 remaining at 5.49 APR. Okay. 5% on a car loan, that's actually pretty good, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think right now it's like 7 would be typical for people, but okay. I'm not positive.
I've seen stuff
I'm not trying to shop for a car, so.
No. Rent, $1,600 a month. Could be high, could be low, depending on where you live. Other expenses, $500 a month for groceries, gas, and entertainment. That is very low. It's very low.
I'm going to guess that's probably not super accurate because whenever someone ends their expenses in a zero, and other expenses is a zero, if it's a 500 exactly, it's always wrong. And usually when it's wrong, they under amount it.
Yeah.
And before we get into more of it, I do want to talk about the rhinoplasty thing. I know most financial advisor people would be like, oh, I can't believe you would do that. That's such a stupid waste of your money. I don't think that way. If it improves your life, getting your nose done and making you feel better about yourself, getting better in any area is getting better in all areas. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if it was a good amount of money, I mean, before that you had $45,000 and now it's $33,000 in a high yield savings account for your emergency fund. You have a huge emergency fund. Do what you want with your money. I'm not going to tell you anything. It sounds like the $12,000 for the rhinoplasty surgery, if you're happy with it, was a good financial decision. So good on you.
I've also maxed out my Roth IRA and starting a company's 401k match at 3%. That's pretty good.
Good. Even better.
Yeah. I don't have any other debts, and I've never really budgeted because I'm naturally pretty frugal. Cool. My recent surgery was a splurge that I don't foresee repeating. That's good. If you got a nose job and then you had to get another nose job to fix the first one, that'd be pretty bad. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to be nosy into your life. Except for when I eventually save up for a house, for a down payment. Okay, cool. So here's the dilemma. Here's what we're working with here. I'm contemplating whether I should pay off the remaining $16,900 on my car loan. Again, the loan is at 5.49 interest rate, and the monthly payment is about $350. If I pay it off now, I will still have about 8 months worth of emergency funds left, which provides some peace of mind for me. The payoff quote for the loan will add an extra $78 a month to my payment starting in 12 days, which is pushing me to consider this decision more seriously. What does he mean by that, Chris?
I have zero idea. So a payoff quote is basically where it says like this, if you make this payment, you're going to be able to pay it off. So interest rates typically don't increase unless it's actually a she, but unless she has been under paying the amount of money she's supposed to have on the loan, and now the loan is expiring. So now she needs to catch up.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only thing I can think of, because that doesn't make so much sense to me that the rate would increase based off of some sort of an agreement, unless they had some weird agreement that I'm unaware of.
Yeah, I don't know about that. By 2023,
if you know what that means, put it in the comments, because I have no idea.
Yeah, we've never heard of that. My 2023 Subaru was a joint decision with my dad, who generously contributed $15,000 towards the down payment while I added an extra $5,000. I know buying new wasn't the best financial move, but it's done, and I'm happy with the car. I kind of disagree with that. Like, I get it. I get both sides of the token. I think it depends on what you buy. If you buy a Corolla for 23,000, you pay it off, and you use it for 20 years. Well, what's the problem with that? That's my thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. When it comes down to like, it wasn't a good financial decision to buy this new car. It sounds like it was. Like, if you're going to use it for its entire time, it sounds like it's a fine financial decision. In general, is it typically cheaper to buy a used car than a new car? Yes, typically it is. But right now, the used car market and the new car market is still a little weird. She might have gotten some incentives for buying a brand new vehicle that reduced the amount. And again, if she's going to keep it for its lifetime, she's going to treat the car, do its maintenance, do all that stuff, and she's not planning on selling it in 2 years to buy a brand new Subaru to keep up with current trends, then yeah, it's a wash. So as long as she's happy with the car, go for it. If someone's unaware, they're like, I don't know what I want to do, and I really don't have many thoughts either way, I would say, yeah, typically it's probably better to buy a used car that's a year or two old. But if you go into it with intention, as long as you have intention and you're like, this is my thought process, you can explain to me your thought process, then whatever you decide is right.
The big question: should I pay off the car loan entirely now or continue making the monthly payments? Paying it off would reduce my financial obligations and free up cash flow, but it would reduce my emergency fund as well. I'm hoping for a raise in December, which might change my financial situations. But with that being said, any insights or advice would greatly be appreciated. Thank you. Debt free in my sight. Should I pay off the car tonight?
Nice.
Interesting. Me personally, I wouldn't even factor in the raise until it's happened.
Wouldn't?
No, it hasn't happened. So
how long till it? But it says that they said it starts in 12 days, which at this time has already happened.
Yeah.
Before. So I would definitely factor it in because it's happening in 12 days. It's not like it's 6 months out. It's in like 2 weeks.
Well, no, I'm talking about the raise in December.
Oh, they're raising December. Yeah, I would factor that in.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I thought you meant the raise in interest rates.
No, yeah. I get what you're saying. That was the financial windfall of the raise. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would disregard. Just disregard it altogether. The whole story is hogwash. No, what do you got for us, Chris? What do you got for us?
So first off, I'd like to say that you're spending $2,450 a month. I'm going to assume that's probably on the low end. It's probably higher than that because it's ending with a zero, and most times it ends with a zero. It's wrong, and most times when it's wrong, it's off. But you also said you're a very frugal person. Either way, $2,400, $2,500, if that's the case, is still super low. If we pay off the car, that $2,450 goes to $2,100 a month, which is great. And at the end of the day, if you're making $2,100 a month, that means you're living on $30,000 a year, and you're making $67,000 a year. You're basically saving 50% of your income. You are doing excellent. So ultimately, whatever decision you choose to make when it comes to the car, paying it off or not paying it off, you're going to be just fine. So I want to start off by telling you that. Either way, you're going to be just fine. But let's look off that. So the payoff quote loan will add an additional $78 a month to your payment, and it starts in 12 days. So that's going to take your loan amount from, and I don't understand why it's going to increase. I don't get that. I would ask your loan person why that is. I've never heard of that, but I'm just going to take you at your word for it. And there's probably something I don't know. And that's totally fine. I don't know everything. But that's going to take your loan from $350 a month to $428 a month, which is a 22% increase. How do you feel to hear that you're now going to have to pay 22% more on your car loan because the interest rate's going to hike? For me, I would not like that feeling. And if I had an additional money to pay it off, I would get rid of it. Also knowing that for someone, I don't know what work you work in, you have to decide for yourself how quickly can you find a new job. But I typically recommend for young people that they have 3 to 6 months of expenses. And that of course is completely dependent on if you have dependents on you, how quickly you can find another job. I don't know any of that stuff. But you're 25. I don't know if you have kids or anything like that, but you currently have 8 months of emergency fund, I think you said. Even if you take that down, because you're spending $30,000 a year, if you take your emergency down to $16,100 by paying off the loan, you'll still have 6 months of emergency fund available to you if you really are living off $30,000 a year. So you're still just fine. And you're still saving a bunch of money into your Roth, and you're saving a bunch of money in your 401k. So let me just tell you about the framework that I typically work in when I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, what to do with these things. The first, I call it the 4Fs. So the first thing is I have to frame the question. And in reality, the question that this person asked me is, should I pay off my car or should I just keep on making the monthly payments? But I ask myself, is that the real question this person is after? Is that really the question? And be honest with yourself too. You can use these 4Fs for yourself. So what is the decision that actually you're asking for? What is the question you really want to have answered? The question that you probably really want to have answered is, am I making the right financial decisions with my money? Was the rhinoplasty thing right? Did I do the right thing with the car? And I've already said yes. Yes, you did. So frame the real question. The question I don't think has anything to do with the car, because regardless if you decide to pay it all off at once or pay monthly, it's probably not going to really change your financial trajectory, because 80% of being good with money has to do with your habits, and you already have really good habits. So this other 20%, while 20% is important, yes, it's not going to make a meaningful difference in your life at all. So frame the real question. The real question is, am I doing right by my money? You are. But let's say you weren't, or you didn't know, or you weren't asking me. I would first dig down, find the real question. After that, you want to do a fact find. So go through all the steps and start to find out all the information that you need. Why am I getting a rate increase? If I pay it off, it's going to cost me more in the long run. Do a fact finding mission where you're looking into that. After that, I want you to make a final decision. Choose to either pay it off or don't pay it off, and do it monthly. Whatever ways you decide, you stick with that choice. So you don't look back, because you can't undo the past. But then for our 4th F, we follow up, and hopefully we made the right choice. But if we didn't make the right choice, what can we do now to rethink it and make a better choice sooner rather than waiting? So if you choose to pay it all off, you can't go back and undo that. But if you choose to go on a monthly payment, you can choose the next month, once you got that $428 bill, this isn't working for you, and you can choose to just pay it off at that point. So that's my 4F framework. I use it for everything. Frame the real question, fact find, make a final decision, follow up on that decision. Because that final decision is not always final. You can always follow it up with a new decision.
That's awesome. I like that. Yeah, I hope that helps. And best of luck. Best of luck.
Either way, you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, you're sitting good. I mean, 50% savings rate is crazy. I mean, even if the expenses are off by a little bit and it's a little bit higher, 40% savings rate is still crazy. Unbelievable.
Yep. So keep it up, and remember, for someone who is also very frugally minded like myself, remember to live life too. Saving money is great, but also live life. It's very important, and it's a message that I want to tell everyone who is super don't spend money.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, best of luck, and we will get on to win of the week. So this week, I'm going to go first, if you don't mind. Do you want to go first, Chris? Do you want me to go first?
No, you're good. Okay.
I'll go first. All right. So my win of the week is using what I learned from Monday's pod. I have cut ties with TikTok, the app. And in order to be more efficient, I've replaced it with learning apps. And I'm trying to be more cognizant of the time I spend doing things that don't serve me. So my win of the week is that I've replaced doom scrolling with learning and moving me towards being the person I want to be, right? So I've replaced TikTok with Duolingo and other language-based learning apps, as well as cognitive apps to help with my memory, my speaking abilities. Like, kind of, I forget the exact name of the app. I think it's called Intuitive, but it's kind of cool. So one of the exercises, they'll put up a sentence and they'll be like, which part of this sentence doesn't belong? It's not needed, right? And it's kind of like taking things out that you're saying things twice, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's so interesting. So it's kind of reworked my brain. So I was like, I've never thought about that. And it's actually helping me write better. It's really weird. Yeah. I was talking with my mom about this, and she said something, and I was like, oh, that's a double negative. Like, that's actually incorrect. And I was like, wow, I feel like a good student. This is like a first for me. I was a terrible student, but I love to learn. Weird coincidence. But yes, that is my win of the week, and I highly encourage all of you guys to do the same. Honestly, you're not getting anything from TikTok. Let's be real. Yeah, you ain't getting nothing from TikTok. So yeah, that's my win of the week, and best of luck to everyone else. Chris, what's your win of the week?
My win of the week is that my wife convinced some of our friends to go with us on a trip to Playa del Carmen that we have scheduled for next May. My wife and I are already going. We talked about this a few weeks ago. It's the 5-star resort we're going to in Mexico where they give you a butler and they have like a cold plunge on premises and cenotes and everything else. But my wife convinced our friends to also go with us. And then she's also working on convincing other friends to go with us too. So we might have a group of 3 of us going. And if we do, we can get private transport for all of us and all that stuff and save money on the private transport. But yeah, my wife is also offering to help them with like learning which credit cards to open and stuff like that. So I'm trying to convince my wife to open up a separate business where she could train people on credit card hacking, which is something I already do for my coaching business. And she's busy with her own thing, so she won't do it. But know that is available.
That's awesome, dude. That's super cool. It's beautiful to see people take your advice, isn't it? I just love that. Yep. Well, that's awesome.
They're going to be coming with us, so they have something to look forward to too. Like,
yeah,
me and my wife always have plans, and everyone's like, "We're so jealous of you that you always get to go on these trips." It's like you can do it too if you learn, and we're willing to teach you. So now it's really cool to see people who are like taking it upon themselves to go out there and actually have fun.
Yeah, and it's like as awesome as Chris and Brent are. With no disrespect, they're not special in that regard. Nope. Like anybody can do it. Anybody can learn how to credit card hack and kind of game the system a little bit and make it so it's so much cheaper to travel. So much cheaper. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. That'll be a fun one. No, that'll be it. My final thoughts are the action step for this week was go to the local library, pick up Make Time, the book, or you can go online. You go to maketime.com, I believe it is, and you can actually look at the 87 tactics yourself and see, does this work for you? A few different like summary. You can even like Google like Make Time summary, and I'm pretty sure you'll find one that has all 87 tactics. Go in there, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. If I can find that link, I'll put it in the description as well. But until then, guys, please tell a friend about the Fi Guys, like, subscribe for the algorithm. But most importantly, tell somebody about the Fi Guys, bring someone along for this journey with you, because you go so much farther when you go together than when you go alone.
Yeah. That being said, hope to see you guys next week. Till then, later, guys. Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.